Okay, and then what happened from there? So you sort of went on from here and started buying lots of properties, didn't you?
Yeah, because I'd pretty much invented property investment by that stage.
That's right. Okay, so you thought you'd come up with a concept no one else knew about.
Yeah, I thought this was a great idea. I didn't know why everybody, and I asked around, and didn't know anyone else who was getting flatmates and then moving out. And I thought I've invented this great idea that you can just start, invest in property and make money off it.
Yeah. So when was
I had a bit
it
of a sheltered life.
When was it then that you discovered that there were other property investors out there?
That was when I'd moved town again, and I'd left a couple of flatmate groups behind me in different towns, and I'd moved to this city called Palmerston North in New Zealand. And I was reading the local paper, and Palmerston North, I don't know, it's probably 100,000 people, so it was the biggest city that I'd ever lived in at that stage. And there was a story in the local newspaper, in the Evening Standard, and it said that weekend the New Zealand Property Investors Federation was having their annual conference. And when I read the story, I went, these are my people. These people are doing what I do. And it was talking about that they were property investors and they were getting rents and they were having a conference to talk about, how to do it better or whatever, I don't know. And I just was so excited that there were other people like me. So I rang them up and said, I need to come to your conference. And they said, oh no, sorry, it's all sold out and it's for members only. So I had to have another campaign, a bit like I'd had the campaign with the insurance guy and then the campaign with the council. I had to have another campaign with these guys and just say, look, you don't understand, I have to come. I've been investing in property. I think at that stage I had 6 rental properties, so I must have been 23, 24. And I didn't know anyone else was doing it, and I have to come. And so the guy who was the organiser eventually sort of said, what do you mean you didn't know anyone else? And I started telling him the story that I just told you. And he said, look, we've already organised the catering. And I said, well, I won't eat. I'll just come and I'll bring my own lunch. And he said, but we've only got seating for 200 and we've already got 200. I said, I'll stand up. And he said, fine. He just gave up in the end. And I think he just thought, I have to meet this kid and see what on earth she's doing. Yes. And so he said, look, come, but you've got to be there by 7 a.m. because it starts at 9. So you can come and you can help me set up and find another chair and, okay. And so I went and helped him set up. And I was just so excited. It was just all these people that were just doing what I was doing, and people got up and they had slides and graphs and they talked about investment and yields and all this language that I'd never heard before. And they had books about American books, because in those days there wasn't really anything local. Yeah. They had American books about buying property. And
so what happened on that course? Because I can imagine back then being a young girl, surely you're in the minority.
Yeah, a minority of one, actually.
Wow.
There was another woman there. I remember her name was Jill, and she would have been in her 40s, which at the time I thought was really old. And she was the only other female, and the other 198 were all pretty much middle-aged men. There were some guys not that much older than me, like Matthew, who was the organiser, was about 30, but most of them were 40-something. And
what were they like? Did they sort of take you on board, or were they sort of, what are you doing here?
They were kind of curious as to know what I was doing there. And then a few of them, and Matthew the organiser and a couple of the others said to me, come out for dinner with us afterwards, because he knew my story. He thought it was funny. And so we went out for dinner and I was telling them my story, and they just kind of took me under their wing, really, because these were sort of serious developers in suits, and they just thought that I was the light entertainment perhaps, but they I don't know, they saw something in me, I guess, where I'd done this stuff without having any idea what I was doing, and they just took me under their wing and just taught me so much. There's a handful of guys that just showed me so many things and really adopted me, and invited me to be one of the guest speakers at the conference the following year. Yeah. Which I accepted because I was terrified of public speaking, so I thought I should do this. And then it wasn't until I got there to do my talk and I realised there they all are in their suits and I'm in my pink canvas skirt and my good sweatshirt and got up and told my story. And I was following on from all these people who'd been talking about, the market and really professional property stuff, and I got up and told my story about buying a house with credit cards. And the audience started laughing, and I wasn't sure whether it was good laughing or bad laughing, but afterwards they gave me a standing ovation and all gave me big hugs, so wow. I figured it was good laughing.